Well, I've watched them, and whenever anyone says, well, where did he lie, they have no idea. It's just a line they use. They, put out in their machine that just say Trump lied. And nobody asks them where or anything. I didn't lie. I told the truth.
Trump lied after the debate about not having anything to do with Project 2025, just as he lied about Stormy Daniels and says he paid $130,000 to a porn star he didn't have sex with.
Damn! I'm sorry.
I mean, the man's got a point, right? As I continue to say to anyone willing to listen, if you think Trump has no idea about Project 2025, the Christo-fascist manifesto that he also disagrees with, despite knowing nothing about, involving 140 of his aides and advisors, then I have a $60 God Bless America Bible to sell you. Wait, I just realized my own point. Of course he's saying this. He is appealing to the same people buying his gold sneakers, and they'll believe anything coming from this man's mouth.
Well, I like Trump as a person. I know some really good friends of his, and he's for the American people, like he said. And I think most importantly, I like his lower taxes and his Christian values that he stands for.
I'm wondering what one or two of your most favored Bible verses are,
well,
and why.
I wouldn't want to get into it because to me that's very personal. When I talk about the Bible, it's very personal, so I don't want to get into verses. I don't want to get into.
There's no verse that means a lot to you that you think about or cite.
The Bible means a lot to me, but I don't want to get into specifics.
Even to cite a verse that
you
like?
No, I don't want to do that.
You're an Old Testament guy or a New Testament guy?
Probably equal.
But anyway, many of those same people likely get their news from Fox News. Let's put the news like this, shall we? News, in which they are used to a 3-course feast for the eyes involving disinformation, fear-mongering, being just like Jesus. But I bet few were expecting this as host Neil Cavuto invited on Democrat Representative Brad Sherman, to which the subject of Project 2025 was brought up. And unlike others on the network willing to swallow Trump's claim that he's never heard of it with a snake oil chaser, Sherman was upfront and honest about his take, that it's a load of wind and pish, as we say in Scotland.
Walk us through what exactly you found as you look through this list of names.
Sarah, when Donald Trump asserted last week that he didn't know who was behind Project 2025, we decided to take a look at all the authors and contributors who are listed on Project 2025 signature project, this 900-page playbook for his Trump's second term. And we found at least 140 people who were authors or contributors had prior experience working for the Trump administration. Now, this includes people who rose to the highest levels of his government, including 6 people who served as cabinet secretaries, including HUD Secretary Ben Carson, who remains very close to Donald Trump, as well as the cabinet secretary in charge of the Office of Personnel and Management, that's Russ Vought, who I should also point out recently helped put together the RNC platform that Trump approved.
Trump lied after the debate about not having anything to do with Project 2025, just as he lied about Stormy Daniels and says he paid $130,000 to a porn star he didn't have sex with.
And it is, of course it is, as CNN's Abby Phillip laid out point by point. The man literally spoke at a Heritage Foundation event, complimenting the very people for laying the groundwork for a new America.
The conservative in charge of Project 2025 calls their efforts to start a bloodless revolution. The project, of course, is the 922-page wish list of actions to fundamentally change the American government, society, and life. This right here is it, the printout of that plan. The vessel, though, that they plan to use to accomplish it is Donald Trump, who now says that he knows nothing about this project, nor does he have any idea who's behind it. Well, that's BS, no matter which way you shovel it. And here is the evidence. First, the WHO. The group behind this project is the Heritage Foundation. It is a group that Trump is not only familiar with, but relies on them for policy advice and guidance. Just ask him.
For nearly 50 years, this legendary institution, which is what it is, has been at the forefront of the conservative movement, helping lead the fight to defend our cherished American history, culture, and traditions. Our country is going to hell. The critical job of institutions such as Heritage is to lay the groundwork, and Heritage does such an incredible job at that. Encourage new thinking, embrace new directions, and keep heritage at the vanguard of the conservative movement. I think tremendous things are going to be coming out of heritage. Each of you here tonight, I ask you to think big, dream bigger, aim higher, get ready to work. I know how wealthy the people in this room are, so start shelling out to heritage.
I mean, Trump's former VP, you know, the one he almost got killed, he said that they worked closely with the Heritage Foundation during their term.
Heritage Foundation has been fighting side by side with this president and this administration since day one. And we have a stronger America as a result. From right in the transition, we went to work availing ourselves of the resources available from the Heritage Foundation. We laid out plans for this administration. We drew on the scholarship and the resources of this historic think tank.
And he's hardly the only loyalist who's involved in this project. So are more than 30 former administration and campaign officials, including Stephen Miller, Ken Cuccinelli, Stephen Moore, Peter Navarro, and Ben Carson, all who Trump would have a hard time convincing us he doesn't actually know.
A great patriot, a great negotiator for our country. He did a tremendous job. Steve Moore is so fantastic, and Steve, I want to thank you very much because you've been there right from the beginning. Wanted to put him on the Fed. A man who is tough and smart and loves our country. He's a real guy. He's a real patriot. Stephen Miller, my friend. Stephen Miller. Former Secretary Ben Carson did a fantastic job. Everybody loves him. I love him.
Now, as for Trump's other claim that he doesn't know anything about the project, let's just deconstruct that sentence on its surface. Quote, I know nothing about Project 2025, but then he goes on to say he disagrees with some of the things that they're saying. He knows nothing about it, but disagrees with it?
And go ahead, pick any of his shameless cult followers desperate for scraps at the table, and you'll find them speaking at Heritage Foundation events.
And I want to thank especially Kevin Roberts and all of the Heritage Foundation for 50 years of incredible work on conservative policy.
The reason Trump is backtracking, right, is because of the uptick in people searching the intricate details of this project. Mostly thanks to Taraji P. Henson for using her time during the BET Awards to instruct Americans to look it up. Case in point again why artists and athletes should never just stay in their lane, because when they use a platform like this, it is so...
Democracy party at this point. The reason that they make that seemingly clever but stupid distinction between Republican democracy is because they are anti-democratic. And we know that from all the voter suppression mechanisms. We know that from their enthusiastic support for gerrymandering. We know that because of what happened on January 6th and the fact that they're willing to use violence and subterfuge to try to overthrow the processes of constitutional democracy. We know it from their packing and their stacking of the Supreme Court, which operates in the best traditions of right-wing judicial activism to overthrow democracy, to overturn majority African American and majority Hispanic congressional districts, and so on. So they've got a bag of tricks.
Project 2025 is far from a joke. Actually, it's a blueprint for a theocratic nation under an authoritarian leader. And no matter what, we must never lose focus of that and what's at stake here, and do everything possible to stop it, even if it means going into the lion's den to speak out against it.
Kinzinger, you recently wrote, quote, Project 2025 would consolidate power in the presidency, removing the checks and balances that allow Congress to slow down or even cancel controversial projects. Do you buy what President Trump is saying about not knowing anything about it?
No, of course he knows it. Look, Heritage Foundation plays a very important role in his campaign. And let's also, quick aside, keep in mind the Heritage Foundation recently flew the American flag upside down, which somehow is cool now to do, even though that used to be a very anti-American thing. So he knows, his people around him know, they're deeply involved in this. And this is all about remaking the federal government, not just to be like a conservative federal government, but you think about what this does to competency. So if you want to get a license to do whatever through the federal government, those people that do those licenses or put out your social security check or do those things that we require every day, they're talking about replacing them with folks that have no idea what they're doing because The other people that have been working there have not sworn an allegiance to Donald Trump. And what we know about Donald Trump is he only wants people around him that swear an allegiance to him, and that's it.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.